title, The Last Night on Oakwood Drive. The town of Oakwood had always been quiet, its streets lined with old oak trees that whispered secrets to those who listened. The people went about their lives in peaceful routines, unaware of the strange events that were about to unfold. It was a cold, foggy evening when Clara moved into the old house on Oakwood Drive. The house had been vacant for years, ever since the mysterious disappearance of the previous owner, Mrs. Willow. Clara, a writer seeking solitude, found the eerie silence of the house oddly comforting. She had always been drawn to places with history, and this house, with its creaky floors and dusty corners, had plenty of stories to tell. As the night fell, Clara settled into her new home. She lit a fire in the ancient hearth and unpacked her belongings. Among them was an old typewriter, a gift from her grandmother, which she placed on the desk by the window. She was eager to start her next novel, a suspense thriller that she hoped would be her best work yet. Around midnight, Clara was jolted awake by a faint sound. It was a soft, rhythmic tapping coming from downstairs. She brushed it off as a house settling and tried to go back to sleep, but the sound persisted. Curious and a bit unnerved, she grabbed a flashlight and made her way down the creaky stairs. The sound grew louder as she approached the living room. It was coming from the direction of the typewriter. She shone her flashlight on the desk, and to her horror, the typewriter keys were moving on their own, typing out a message. "Save me." Clara's heart pounded as she stared at the words. She reached out to touch the typewriter, and as soon as her fingers brushed the keys, the room went dark. The flashlight flickered and died, leaving her in complete darkness. She fumbled for her phone, using its dim light to find her way back to the stairs. As she climbed back to her bedroom, the air grew colder. She could see her breath in front of her, and a chilling presence seemed to follow her every step. When she reached her room, she slammed the door shut and leaned against it, trying to calm her racing heart. Suddenly, a whisper filled the room. It was faint but clear, and it sent shivers down her spine. "Help me. Please." Clara spun around, her eyes scanning the room. There was no one there. The whisper continued, growing more desperate. "I'm trapped. In the walls." Determined to uncover the truth, Clara grabbed a hammer from her toolbox and began to tap along the walls, listening for hollow spots. She found one behind an old bookshelf. With trembling hands, she moved the bookshelf aside and started to chip away at the plaster. After what felt like an eternity, she uncovered a small, hidden compartment. Inside, she found a diary. It belonged to Mrs. Willow. Clara flipped through the pages, her eyes widening as she read the entries. Mrs. Willow had been tormented by a malevolent spirit that haunted the house. She had tried to communicate with it, hoping to free it, but instead, she had become trapped in the walls. Clara knew what she had to do. She gathered sage and candles and began a cleansing ritual she had read about. As she walked through the house, chanting and burning sage, the atmosphere grew heavier. The whispers turned into anguished cries, and the walls seemed to close in on her. With a final, desperate plea, Clara shouted, "Leave this place. Be free." The cries intensified, then suddenly stopped. The air grew warm, and the house seemed to exhale a sigh of relief. Exhausted, Clara collapsed on the floor. When she woke, it was morning. The sun streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow on the old house. The typewriter sat silently on the desk, and the whispers were gone. Clara knew she had freed the spirit of Mrs. Willow. As she sat down to write, she felt a surge of inspiration. She began to type, her fingers flying over the keys. Her novel would be a tribute to the woman who had been trapped for so long, a story of suspense and redemption. And from that day on, the house on Oakwood Drive was quiet once more, its secrets finally laid to rest.